Today's video is all about the links between mindfulness and weight training. And you might not actually think that there are many links between those two things at all. But I'm here to say that there are some useful things about mindfulness that we can apply when training with weights. So first of all, my story, how I got into weight training. I was seeing my teacher for the first time. That's a meditation teacher I've been studying with for the last 14 or 15 years. The first thing she said to me pretty much was that I needed to start lifting weights. And the reason for that was I wasn't very embodied. Back then, I was very spiritually open, you might say, but I wasn't very grounded. I wasn't very embodied. And whilst I had a lot of high sensitivities, I wasn't able to really ground them in the world and make them useful. So one of the solutions was weight training. Anyway, that is neither here nor there. The main aspect of this video is some tips to help you apply mindfulness to your weight training activities. So the first one is to use the mantra strong as you're training. You might have noticed that when you say certain things to yourself, like I can or I can't, your body tends to follow suit. So I have developed the habit of saying to myself strong, particularly when I'm feeling like right at the edge of what I can lift. So try it out. You can do the same thing with the word yes and no. Do a little experiment. What happens when you're lifting when you say yes? What happens when you lift when you say no? It'd be interesting to find out for yourself how your body responds. But the word for me that works the best is strong. So you might have different words, but use mantra as you're lifting to incorporate the whole energetic system of the body with your intentionality in the practice. The second one is to think about how we can use the broad band of awareness in mindfulness and the narrow band of awareness in mindfulness. So these are aspects which we play with. If you're familiar with mindfulness, you'll know that sometimes we center in on something and hold something singular in awareness. It could be like the flame of a candle. It could be a word like strong. It could be the breath. So we focus in on one thing, narrow beam of awareness. And sometimes we use the broad beam of awareness. So this can be useful, for example, if I've got a lot of pain going on in my body, I might also notice that the parts of my body that feel neutral, that feel comfortable, that other aspects of my awareness feel loving or kind or something like that. So if we want to train intensively on a particular muscle, let's say the bicep, we want to train intensively, and particularly if there, for example, aren't heavy weights in the gym or the type of weights that you'd like to work with. So if you're working with a lesser weight than you'd be ideal for your workout, we can use the narrow beam of awareness to really focus in very intensely on the muscle. So we want to bring all of our awareness into the muscle as we're lifting, maybe slow the exercise down as well. And that will really help us to pump up the intensity of that practice. So it doesn't matter what type of push or pull that you're doing, bringing a narrow band of awareness and really focusing in intensely on that muscle can enable you to get the most out of that weight. And the other one is the broad beam of awareness. Now, when we're really struggling in weight, so at a certain point we'll get to the end of what's possible and we'll have muscle failure starting to happen. It's usually mentally that we start to fail before physically we actually fail. So that relationship between those two is interesting to bring awareness to. But when you think it's actually, this is just mentally, I'm starting to give up, rather than, maybe the body has got another rep or two in it, we can place ourselves within the broader beam of awareness. And we can, for example, navigate to the part of us that's okay. There's actually a part of the human being, that is okay with all experience. And so we can come into that center and use it as a place to ground and anchor as, let's say, we're pushing out those final 1 or 2 reps. So this is another way we can use the mindfulness technique of broadening and narrowing awareness. And the third one is to ground through the feet, particularly when you're lifting heavy. So if you're lifting heavy, whether you're actually doing a standing lift, like a curl or shoulder press or something like that, or if you're on a bench, have the feet on the floor and have that sensation of grounding, so connecting through the feet into the earth to give you an extra sense of foundation as you're doing the exercise. So ground through the feet. It's another one to experiment with. It's quite difficult to explain well, but if you can get a feel of it, it can really help you in your weights practice. So I hope those tips were useful. I look forward to hearing if you've got any tips of your own that link mindfulness and weight training. Really keen to hear those in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time.